but he needs a mic. Hi, friends. You know who this is. This is Adam Rogers. He is coach of Alexis Raptis.
Holy shoot.
All right, what we're about to watch is Adam's athlete, Alexis Raptis, dominate a workout. What is this workout?
Triple G chipper. It's event 4 from the West Coast Classic.
What is that workout?
It is 100 chin over bar pull-ups, 80 Ghd sit-ups, 60 alternating pistols, 40 row cows, and then 20 one-arm dumbbells shoulder to overhead for her at 70 pounds.
You are a phenom and need to be here with me more often.
At just this or everything?
Everything.
Yep.
Leave a comment if you want more Adam.
Leave a comment if you want more Adam.
Don't leave a comment if you want more Adam, and then you'll get it.
And our sound guy is fired. All right, Alexis, what was the game plan going in so I could watch this and evaluate the relative to how she was supposed to do it?
Yeah, so this is one of the few events that we actually didn't do a full run through of all of the movements, but it actually probably had the most structure to the game plan of everything else that we had this weekend. So it starts with 100 pull-ups. Our plan was to do somewhere between 35 and 40, go to like 15 to 12 for a couple of sets, go to 10s, and then around there she should be around 75 to 80. Finish off with sets of 6 to 8. Just chip away, keep the rest breaks short. We thought it was going to be okay to let your grip, your biceps burn a little bit because coming up after this is GHDs and then pistols. So it's a long time until you have to be pulling again. So keep the rest breaks short, bite off a big chunk, and then just chip away from there.
So she dropped at 40 seconds and was back up at 43. So that's a real quick break.
Yeah.
Her gymnastics capacity is, I mean, I've seen it a little bit on the on-site environment, is top notch. It's really good. Do you know what those 2 first sets were?
I think it was 35 and then 15. So she's probably halfway done after 2 sets. This break was a little bit longer. So she hit the 50 mark, chalked up. Going to hop up here. I think that this is probably a set of 12 or so.
Yeah. What do you think as I'm watching this, I guess, hopefully, Alexis, you're not watching this and you're competing tomorrow, but you could listen to it later about her just technique in general with butterfly pull-ups.
What's really interesting watching her do pull-ups compared to other, I would say, more muscular CrossFit females do pull-ups is how quickly she goes down into extension at the bottom of the rep. So I remember having Joey on site who had strong swimmer shoulders. Like she has very, very strong shoulder sockets and girdles, and she has a lot of confidence with it. So the eccentric on her pull-ups is basically non-existent. She just slaps down in the bottom, lets her shoulders absorb all of that impact.
Yeah, I noticed that as she was going. That's kind of why I asked. I wanted to know, excuse me, if that was how she normally did pull-ups or if that's just like a faster cycling sequence or...
No, this is how she does chest to bars. It's how she does pull-ups. And she has longer arms, I think, compared to other female athletes, but her cycle time is faster because of that, because she doesn't really control the eccentric at all.
It's all we see is really a little bit of somebody over in that lane. Do you remember in this lane, like where she was getting off the pull-up bar? I feel like she was kind of behind.
3rd or 4th. So Bethany did 70 in a row to start. And then I think she was off at around 210, 212. Alexis was off at about 240 or so. So in practice, she took about 225 when we did 100 for time. And we thought that we might slow that down a little bit just because this is the middle of day 2. The ruck was very, very draining this morning. So, and she said the pull-up bars were a little bit more slippery than she liked. So let's pull back a little bit on this because it's just the start of the event and it's not really a huge determining factor.
Yeah, so she's just moving on right now. It's 240. Like Adam said, Carrie Pierce was around 211. I think Noah got off the pull-up bar at 2 minutes.
Just past
So just
a
little bit of time given up on the pull-ups, but that's relative to 2 of the best gymnasts.
What was crazy about Noah, too, was he didn't start with a big set.
He did 5 sets of 20 then got like one no rep.
It was so well executed, though.
Yeah, he did very, very well on that workout, I thought.
Yeah. So the GHD sit-ups here, these were a big reason why we didn't do a full run-through of the whole workout. So she's always had an issue with GHD sit-ups causing some aggravation and some residual issues in her back. So when we did a practice run at this, she did sort of like sit-ups from the floor and tried to mimic the sort of like time and tempo of the sit-up so we could get a feel for the timing of it. But it is still a completely different stimulus, like what it does to your hip flexors, what it does to your core, and how that impacts the rower coming up next.
Did she do any of the GHD progressions that we did on site on Saturdays post?
She actually sat out a lot of those because of that, because it caused so many issues. And because we were doing so much strength work and a lot of that elite path, I wanted her to be as fresh as possible for that.
Yeah, it's really impressive to me. I mean, just overall, just giving props to Alexis for the weekend, just stepping up and putting out an output that was greater than what a day-to-day training performance would be like, and not training a movement, coming out and seemingly right now really doing quite well on it. She opened with a pretty big set there, and that was a pretty quick break.
Yeah, the other good thing about having that on-site training crew is being able to share little tips and cues. So what we did before this, and because she's able to bite off big sets here, I think she did 30, 30, and then is going to settle in after that and biting off like 3 or 5 at a time, is we played around her with her positioning a little bit based off of what Noah and Kyle Ruth were doing.
Yeah.
Moving her butt actually closer to where her feet are, having her knees be a little flexed in that position so her back can actually hug the mats instead of hang off the mats.
Yeah.
And she says she doesn't feel her back at all now.
I really think that I was the originator of that, and it got
I'll give
stolen
you
from
credit
me,
for
and
it.
Noah took credit for
I'll
it
give
now.
you credit for it then. Yeah. But
I've only done 3 that way, though.
It's made a world of difference. And I actually did one of her training sessions with her where we did 90 of them, and I was not sore at all afterwards.
Yeah, it makes a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
So that's a little secret only for the TTT people. That is not really a secret.
Not anymore because I just blew it.
So as she is transitioning, what's her confidence with these next 2 movements? With
Everything
pistols,
coming
rowing?
up after this is something that she is going to just continue to build momentum as she goes movement to movement. So pistols are something that, again, like her legs are probably a little bit longer than some of the shorter athletes who can cycle them fast. She's super confident, super well balanced. She can cycle through those really, really smoothly. I wouldn't say like overly fast.
Yeah.
But she's confident with those. Just basically make sure that you don't get too many no reps on that by trying to go too fast on that part.
Yeah,
Rowing is definitely a strength of her, and it's something that she's done a really, really good job of developing over time. When we first started up together 2 years ago, it was one of the things that I highlighted that I really wanted to improve upon because I feel like her engine wasn't getting expressed inside of rowing. Now it's gotten to the point where she really is strong there, and she made up a lot of good time in this workout.
Hey, don't blow it, man.
We'll see it
Don't
in
blow
a
it. I'm
second.
supposed to be calling the action live.
So she's gotten to the point now where she's getting closer to finishing up the GHDs. She'll start to do sets of 3 here with that little bit of a rest at
Yeah.
the top, where it's not really a rest break. It's just kind of doing some clusters to finish up at the end.
She keeps these movements pretty quick. I've seen people get to failure with GHDs where they go to these smaller sets and then the breaks end up being like, take your legs out, shake it out. So she kept the rhythm pretty good there if she was getting close to failure.
Yeah.
Really well done to get through a movement that you haven't really trained and that could potentially cause you some fear and anxiety, and just move on and just transition real quick right into the pistols. So props for that.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch her this weekend. Basically, like there's a lot of tests here at the West Coast Classic that have a lot of uncertainty and I would say potential risk in them, right? Like
the
the
legless
snatch
rope
ladder, the
climbs,
legless rope climbs, even the cleans coming up at the end. Like there's a lot of potential risk out there. And so what goes along with that is uncertainty. How much do you want to lean into it? How short of a rest do you want to bring on those legless rope climbs? Because you're really walking the line on some of those. When they go, they go.
And do you take the risk?
Yeah.
You know, like you're not sure you can do 10 unbroken sandbag over shoulders or whatever it is, but are you going to take the risk when it matters?
Yeah. So it's one of the conversations that I try and have with some of my athletes when they get to on-site competitions like this is trying to walk the line between an acceptable risk and an unacceptable risk. But there's also things, it's terms like a risk that you can't afford not to take. And
when we're calling the action, should I call the wonderful camera blockers that walk in there?
if you know who it is, absolutely.
It's the great revolting blob.
Chris is much more patient than I would be with those kind of people.
Yeah.
I would probably yell at them a little bit more.
Get out of my way.
Yeah.
I cut you off in some very important dialogue that you were talking about. Do you
It
remember?
was probably about risk management. It's about trying to build an awareness around the kinds of places where you know you can't afford not to lean into, right?
Yeah.
Like, so in a competition, it's usually like your adrenaline might get the best of you. You might come out a little bit too hot, or you might be overly afraid of a certain movement and dial back because you don't want to hit failure, maybe because there's too many people watching or you're worried about your scores or anything else. So it's about trying to lay that out and figure out, all right, this is an acceptable risk in this format for me to try and push my GHDs to bigger sets because I know that this new setup on the machine or whatever else isn't going to blow up my back. I know I'm confident with the movements that come up after that. That's an acceptable risk for me.
Yeah.
To go touch and go on the D-balls on the workout after this, probably an unacceptable risk because my biceps are going to blow up. I'm completely burned out from the burpees before that. So you try and lay that out and really make it as objective as possible for the athletes. So that way they know, all right, if I get here and I feel like this, I'm going to lean in.
All right, I didn't want to cut you off, but she just finished the pistols, moved into the row. That transition looked pretty good, and she looks like she's up to a working pace pretty quick. Unfortunately, we cannot see what the monitor is because Chris didn't have the exquisite access that allows him to be on the field. But do you know about where she was in terms of pacing?
Our plan for this was to try and get up above 1,200 calories per hour as fast as she could and then settle in for there. She said in reality, after everything else that happened, and also like the ruck this morning, it was about 1,100 to 1,150, but that's still based off of when she got on this rower, which I think was 4th or 5th in the heat, to when she got off, was faster than the other girls that were in the heat, because so she made up time on at least 2 girls on this and got off the rower before them.
Yeah, I'd say that is a pretty aggressive pace to hold. I'm sure there's some bigger, heavier athletes maybe that could hold a little bit higher on the female side, but I know Kyle B said that he was smoked by this workout and was rowing like 1,000 cows per hour. So
gosh, we won't tell him that Alexis was rowing faster than he was.
Yeah, well, we just did if he watched this video. So hopefully, Kyle, if you're listening, I still love you and you're very fit.
So when we go back to that sort of analysis of risk management, we know that she is super confident with the dumbbell. And I told her, I was like, listen, lean into that row a little bit, because it can be a separator. 40 calories for girls is no joke. Like you can buy 20 or 30 seconds on that for 1,200 to 1,000. And so I said, hey, take a risk there, lean into it a little bit, know that you were really confident with the dumbbell when you get there. And so she did it. She leaned in, she bought 2 places with the rower here, and she's going to transition aggressively and confidently to the dumbbell.
And do you remember context for this heat? Who else was out on the floor? Was she first off the rower?
She was 3rd off the rower, I think, 5th to the rower, if I remember right.
Okay. And who else is in the heat that she was fighting with?
Bethany was way ahead because she got out ahead on the pull-ups. Carrie was right behind her because her cycle time on both the GHD and the pistols was fast as well. I think Danielle Brandon was in the middle. She got on the rower just before Alexis, and Alexis beat her off. I forget who else was there.
Danny Spiegel was somewhere close.
Spiegel was close,
she
but
made up a lot of time on the rower.
I think Alexis was ahead of her at this point, and maybe Danny closed the gap a little bit. All right, so she's finishing up her row now.
Boom. All right, so 10:38. Let's see how long it is before first rep of the shoulder to overhead is up. I feel like sometimes it seems like things... it's pretty damn good. 10 seconds from the time she's basically getting up off the seat to getting that up overhead.
Really good transition. Yeah. So you'll see the dumbbell start to slip backwards in her hand to a point where it's almost vertical there at the top. Yeah. What she said afterwards was it was so slippery. She just kept, man, it was just so slippery. I couldn't keep it in my hand. What was really cool about this, and this was something that she did for herself in terms of execution, was she wanted to start on her weaker side first. So her right arm, super strong, super solid on that. Her left arm had a couple of wobbly reps in the practice rounds and the warm up. She wanted to get that one done and out of the way, because then it's like, all right, I know I can finish on my strong arm no matter what kind of fatigue I'm in.
Yeah. So these look really strong. It seems like maybe the one little technical thing is that dumbbell is kind of getting pushed down and back and off the shoulder, but the lockout overhead looks very strong and stable.
Her straight arm overhead position is just amazing. Yeah. We've seen that with handstand walks and handstand push-ups.
All
and
the gymnastics background.
Yeah. So she did this really well, really good as well, in terms of when it got to your shoulder and it started to get a little wobbly and she didn't have a good grip on it, she used her opposite hand really briefly but didn't set it down. Yeah. She didn't set it down and used that as an excuse to slow down.
Yeah, so she's moving really good here. 2 left, I think. Can't see the judge's hand. I think 1 left.
Yeah, last one.
Bam, crushes it. Just over 12 minutes. I feel like she surprised herself right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did. Oh, my God, with a big smile. I think there's more coming.
That was a great push, a great finish on that event, and something that I think that she was really, really proud of. And it was cool to see her execute all of those things, sort of like building in intensity and aggression as she goes.
Oh, no. What did she say there?
She looks at me and she says, holy shit.
Yeah, that was very, very well done, Alexis.
Yeah.
3, 2. And thank you for watching. Alexis, really well done. She finished what in this workout?
4th overall.
And she is currently in 5th place overall on the leaderboard?
Well, that's what we thought.
Yes.
But apparently things changed and we don't know why.
So she's 2 points out. She's in 6th place right now. We're not entirely sure what happened and how the scores got reshuffled. We're not sure how we're going to find out or if we're going to find out, but it doesn't matter. Yeah.
We're going into day 3, head down, eyes forward, going to finish strong.
That's an interesting phrase.
I mean, that's usually how I walk.
All right, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
Workout 5 with Kyle Ruth.
Kyle Ruth is demoing workout 5.
Games athlete Kyle Ruth.
I think I can go.
It's a wrap, you know what I'm saying? Your boy Project Patar in this thing, man. Hey, look, man, thank y'all for watching Training Think Tank's YouTube channel. Y'all hit that motherfucking subscribe button, you know what I'm saying? So y'all go ahead, man. Thank y'all for watching the channel, you know what I'm saying? Hit that motherfucking subscribe button. Let it be known what it be known, what it be known, you know what I'm saying? Patar.